My name is Sophie. I am a UX designer and a user researcher and an agile coach and a product owner and a business owner. And I'm also a person. And I use clean language absolutely all the time and everywhere. I first learned about it about 10 years ago, and it immediately clicked with me that it was the best way to do two things. One was to, and is to extract kindly, gently, respectfully from people additional information, so I get clarity on what they are what they are trying to say or what they are saying and what they're thinking and feeling. And the other is it's a bit of a trick, as I'm actually a bit of an introvert, and it gets me out of talking about myself, which is also a great trick when I'm doing user research, because user research is never about, of course, the interviewer. It's never about feeding the person with anything that could bias them. And clean language has given me the tools to build research scripts that are in the abstract, because I'm never going to put in a script, what kind of. But it allows me to probe and to really uncover and go to the bottom of things without using the five whys, which are not bad, and they can be useful. But clean language goes beyond that, and it's just a tool in my kit that I just use all the time, and of course in everyday conversations as well. They just help sometimes the conversation roll along, sometimes to get clarity, and sometimes just to interact a little bit differently, showing people that I'm actually interested and I care and I really want to know more and I really want to understand in a non threatening way, in a gentle and a kind way. I think ultimately this is what really seduces me in cling language, is how kind it is.
Mhm. So that strikes me as particularly interesting. Comparing and contrasting clean language with the five whys and holding the idea of kindness there. What, how do you see the difference between clean language and the five whys?
If we look simply at the intention, both are intended to explore the meaning, and to get to the fundamental. And sometimes five whys are very useful. Oh, you got new glasses. Why? Oh, the other ones you didn't like them. Why didn't you like them? Oh, and so on. So you can get a long way, where clean language wouldn't quite probably get there. What kind of decision made you change your glasses? Right, doesn't sound right. Um, but the why question can be it's a very blunt instrument, and it needs to be used only where a context of mutual respect has been established.
Mhm.
We all know little children who walk up to strangers and say, "Why are you ugly?" And they're not wrong, but they're also not right. And they're little kids, so we forgive them. But as an adult, we don't get away with it. So the five whys can have their use. However, one needs to be extremely aware of how uh, brutal and violent they can be. And whereas clean language can get there, but will approach kindly, and maybe clean language can help a person establish the trust or respect and demonstrate that it's not sympathy, it's empathy. They genuinely care. They really want to understand so that they can better connect to the other person. Whereas the whys are very, very clinical. And any question in W is an extremely useful question because it goes to the heart of things, but it's a blunt axe where sometimes you need more of a very gentle scalpel. That's a horrible metaphor, but you get my drift.
And a very gentle scalpel. And I think you implied that clean language could be useful earlier in the conversation while you were establishing trust. Is there anything else about that gentle scalpel while you're establishing the relationship of trust with somebody?
The establishing trust part of a dynamic between people for me is the interesting one. Trust is a very complex dynamic that is not always easy to recognize or understand. We know when it's there and we know when it's not. And we know when it's not because we feel anxiety, fear, discomfort, resistance. Like we know those things of like, and at the same time, we also know when we feel trust, like we feel like we can go, we can open, we feel safe, and trust and safety very much go with one another. And to build that trust and safety, it requires, first of all, not to breach the proofs of trust that the other person has given you. So, for example, you tell me something quite confidential, maybe quite intimate about your health, and it is my job to, first of all, take it kindly. Hear maybe your discomfort or your maybe this latent shame, and hold it kindly in my own space. Maybe hold it for you or hold it with you, and build on from there. And this is where, if you were to say to me, for example, oh, I've just come back from the dentist and it's just it's just horrible and I feel so bad, and I'm like, oh, what kind of visit was it? First of all, let's go get a bit of context, and also get you out maybe of that horrible feeling, to just ground you a little bit, and that's the coach coming in, and then I would explore and say, oh, my teeth are so bad, and in my family, and wherever the conversation takes me. And I think this is where you use clean language in a it is still a tactical use. I am consciously using that tool. I am deliberately inquiring about very specific aspects of your narrative. However, I think you cannot use clean language and be mean. And this is where it goes to more towards radical candor than anything else. I think if you were to use clean language and be mean, first of all, it would be heard in the voice.
Mm.
Yeah, but what kind of visit was it? Like, again, you complain about toothache and you don't go for 6 months. Like, it's not the clean language I'm using, it's everything else. And this is where intention will always prevail, in the fact that I don't trust you or I don't respect you comes across as well. But reversely, if there's a genuine kindness and care, then clean language complements that.
And when you're doing user research, my idea is that somebody's there presumably being paid a small amount to be interviewed. You've got an agenda, you've got specific information you want to get. How does clean language help you get to the bits you want to get to, that you need to get to?
Clean language complements the research script. So research always need to have a purpose. I am doing this work because the team would like to know, for example, how you book your holidays. And we want to know how you book your holidays because we have a specific context in mind. Maybe we are a booking platform. Maybe we are a tourism operator who'd like to see where we need to advertise, like wherever the context. So we need to be very deliberate in why we're doing the research, what we need to research, and stay there. And the purpose specifically of qualitative research, so the interviews in particular, is to get the person to that topic, exclusively to that topic. So really frame them into a very specific, it can be a moment in time, it can be a place, but really frame their recollection, and then help them articulate as much as possible, as authentically as possible. So my research script is going to get me to, oh, tell me about the last time you booked a holiday, and do you remember who you did it with, and do you remember what tool was it, do you remember how you feel, if I tell you today to go book a plane, what's coming up? So these are not clean language questions, because I need to direct the person to a very, very specific frame. Once I'm there, once I get them there, then depending what comes out of their mouth, literally, I will decide where to go. Maybe they've expressed everything I needed. If I said, oh, booking for me is such a stressful moment. There's so much money at stake. I want the best holidays. Okay, I understand. Let me move on and get there. I understand it's so stressful. I don't need to dive deeper. It's not therapy. But let's say the person says, oh, booking holidays, like no one really likes that. Okay, what kind of not liking are we talking about? And When you say booking, what kind of booking is that for you is exactly? And this is where it helps me refine. Once I get them there, we can refine exactly what they mean. And this is where, to compare back to the five whys, I could ask, why is it stressful to you? Depending where I am in building the relationship with the interviewee, it might land well. And I will use every now and again the W questions, probably not in the first half of an interview where we're still establishing rapport. But at some point, it might be a bit of a blunt question and just make them, take stock of what they're saying. And also to break the bias in research, particularly, and you said in paid research, there is a bias where the participant will try to please the interviewer. I've made time for them, I am listening to them, I am paying them, they want to make it worth my time and money. And I need to break that as much as possible and get them to a disregard the incentive, disregard the time, tell me where it is. And clean language and its kind nature help me at that stage, to break up from the model they have in their heads. I need to be nice, I need to look good, I need to come across as smart, I need to come across as interesting, I need to give them their money's worth, I need to say what she wants to hear so she gets whatever. And we cut through all of that, because with clean language, whenever you get a clean language question, I think it helps simplify your thinking and cut through this self-imposed noise that we may have in our heads.
Thank you. And you mentioned that you used clean language not just in your research, but also as a person and as an introvert. Say a little more about that, if you would.
Clean language has been my get out of jail card, go through start, collect the 20,000, because ultimately it makes other people talk. And it makes them talk about themselves. It makes them talk about specific points. It does. You can try to use clean language on something somebody doesn't want to reveal. It's not gonna work. It's not a truth serum. However, it's a good general conversation starter, particularly in vague situations, conference, wedding where you meet the bride's third cousin's hairdresser's next door neighbor who they played golf with 20 years ago. You can go so far in just breaking the ice, especially if you use the clean language technique to talk about general things, not personal, not intimate, their last holiday, how they got here, how is the hotel, how comfortable are their shoes, and just build a rapport and simply shift the mood from, oh, I'm unsure, I'm uncertain, what am I supposed to do, where am I supposed to be, do I look good, are we supposed to dance, are we supposed to eat, should I be somewhere else, should I be talking, should I be not talking. It just creates a bit of a conversation. What's interesting is that everybody relaxes. Clean language has the power to be non-judgmental, and it is clearly not judgmental. And again, because it's not the whys, where the whys can be, oh, that thing is weird, that thing is specific, I need to understand that thing, and that can come with a sense of judgment, which can generate, shame or guilt. Clean language doesn't go there. So you get a general gentle atmosphere. And if the other person doesn't want to talk, let's say I meet another super introvert, it becomes clearly apparent. They give short answers. That's okay. We move on. We don't talk. Or we just stand there being not too awkward, because now we're two people being awkward, and life continues. So I've found it to be just a perfect complicated social situation tool that I have. Again, it doesn't make me talk about me. It's not personal. It's not aggressive. It goes everywhere. It translates very well in every language. Genius.
So it translates well in every language. How many languages do you speak?
4: English, French, Spanish, and German.
And you live
German not that
in
great, and I live in Spain.
so we can assume that you're quite a lot of the time you're doing it in Spanish and French.
In Spanish, I would struggle. My Spanish is not great, but French, yeah, French all the time. And
I'm curious, how did you first hear about clean language and what caught your attention about it?
I think it was a meetup in London where you came. I still see the room and I still where it is. No idea what the date, or but it was just a meetup, and you had come to give a bit of a workshop. And it probably was an agile coaching meetup. I do recall the room being full of coaches, and it just clicked immediately to me. I was like, this is what's the opposite of kryptonite? I don't know. It's Obelix Asterix magic potion. It's
Mhm.
just so powerful and so simple. And from there and from there onwards, I've followed you on LinkedIn. I attended other talk of yours, um, and there's also something which is at the same time great and not so great. It is so simple that you don't need years of training and then this and certification to master level. It is just so simple to master, and in a very shuhari process. You can try to reinvent it, you will always come back to the basics because that's really what works best.
Mhm.
um, so I just use it out of the box and it systematically delivers.
One of the things that s- prompts me to want to interview people who use clean language is that for some people, it seems to be quite challenging to start using clean language questions for the first time out in the wild. But it sounds as if you found it really comfortable, straightforward, and uncomplicated. I'm
I
curious,
Yeah.
how was it when you very first asked a clean language question in your own context?
When I started using clean language, I think it gave me the key to unlock what was always there, which is my natural curiosity. I'm a curious person, not in a nosy way, but in a genuine. I'm always looking up. If I hear a word like, "Oh, how is that spelled?" and "What's the etymology?" I'm driving my Spanish teacher mad because I'm like, "Oh, why is this word written this way?" And we go to the Royal Academy's dictionary and we look it up because and clean language just gave me such a wonderful torchlight where I could frame my curiosity in a kind way, because curiosity again can come across as aggressive and can be very obnoxious, can be very indiscreet, can be very inappropriate, which I never want to be, but it helped me just utilize it and leverage it. So I it maybe the question is, how naturally do you entertain your curiosity? I think everybody's curious, but many people learn to not be. You should have your curtains closed and you should not be peeking, and it's none of your business, and curiosity is a sin. But we should be naturally curious and playful. And I think clean language absolutely fits into, I think, that a general attitude of playfulness, of curiosity, and of kindness.